We'll see if we can get this one going. I'll start off with a couple of things. I'm reporting that Marlon Davidson from the Atlanta Falcons previously, and a few other teams, former second-round draft pick, defensive tackle from LSU, that he's joining the Texans on their practice squad. This is his second time with the Texans this year. He joined the Texans previously during the preseason, and he had a successful tryout, and it was a deal where he needed to heal up from a torn biceps. So now that he's over the biceps tear, they reached an injury settlement with him during the preseason, and he's healthy now. He had a tryout where they brought in him and Joe Gaviano, and they also had in Ben Still, a defensive tackle, and former Texans 7th-round pick Marcus Harris from Auburn University. So they had in a few guys, and they decided to go with the familiar, which is Marlon Davidson. So he's joining the practice squad, and it's a good situation to have Marlon, to have him in the fold again, to give them reserve defensive lineman. Things are going pretty well with Denico Autry. He's near return from his knee injury that he really bothered him for most of the preseason. And then they're also close to having back Jalen Reed. And I'm going to share this link and see if this will work, but hoping that you guys can hear me. How's that mic check over there? Any sounds? Okay. So it sounds like I was just having some technical difficulties with trying to do this on my cell phone after I first tried on my laptop, and it was spinning out, and now appears to be working. So this will all get saved, and you'll have an opportunity to, if you guys join me now, to do questions. So I'll reshare this on my Twitter link, and then we're live now. Okay? Thanks a lot. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is not the first time I've had this issue. But hopefully it'll be better going forward. And it is, for some reason, just the live software a little different. So the Texans, 2-game winning streak, and 2-3 heading into the open week, or the bye week as some people like to call it. And then they have extra time to get ready for the Seattle Seahawks. So positive things in terms of health, preparation. Some might argue, well, what about the ability to have, the momentum to keep that going? And I get that. That's certainly valid. You could make that argument that they should not have, this time, but they do. So when you look at where things stand now, the Texans offensively, it's clicking. They're getting a lot more out of C.J. Stroud. 4 touchdown passes, 85% completion percentage, and it was just a much better situation in terms of the flow of the offense. And we're seeing the misdirection, we're seeing a little bit of play action, and we're seeing some of the things really that in the old days Tom Brady and the New England Patriots would do. So that's a good thing. And now it's cool. We're trying to have some people come back into the chat after I shared the Twitter link. So guys, thanks for your patience. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. It seemed like some things out of my control. It was just spinning and spinning, and it wasn't making any sound. But it sounds like we're good now. Everybody wants to affirm that. Footballer 503, you can hear me? I see your question. I'm doing well. Why is the situation with Joe Mixon so weird and secretive? There are some HIPAA rules involved because this is a personal health issue that goes beyond just a normal football injury. It is, by definition, a non-football injury. So it was something that happened away from the football field, and in terms of procedures that he's had to alleviate the pain in his foot and ankle. So there's been electromagnetic therapy to break up scar tissue. They've heard there have been cortisone shots. He has not had surgery, but it's been a difficult situation, and I don't expect him to play this year. So I'll be surprised if they have him play any football. I was told by one team source that they're not counting on anything from Joe the entire season. And they have an expectation to have Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, and the Texans feel bad for him. It's unfortunate. You guys can see they're still paying him, so they do value what Joe brought to the table last year, and it's $7 million, but there's no way out of it at this point. They have the choice not to pay him, but they're not going to do that. So $7 million down the drain. Same thing with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, same thing with Cam Robinson. So there is some sunken costs involved with the Texans. So hope that answers your question, football. Do you have any other questions? Happy to answer anything you've got. And please tell your friends that we're live. So I'll reshare that link. Can everybody else hear me that's in the building? That's an affirmative? All right, great. Okay. Jimmy Ward. So Jimmy he had not one surgery, but 2 foot surgeries. That's why there's such a long delay. And so I think that it's going to be closer to, say, like maybe the end of the month at soonest for when he might get out on the field. But there's been no definitive timetable for Jimmy. The NFL seems to have lost its zest for pursuing this investigation of potential discipline. I think they may wind up calling it time served, because the fact is he was not indicted by the grand jury. They found that there was exculpatory evidence in text messages from the accuser, who is his baby's mother. So he's doing well health-wise, and I asked D'Amico Ryans about him today, and he said that he's happy that it's been resolved, but just that it took a long time. Yeah, John wants to know, is there a specific attempt to get CJ to get the football out faster? That was emphasized behind the scenes, to play faster, to have more rhythm and more tempo. You guys could probably see that. They broke the huddle faster. They got to the line of scrimmage faster. I think they play faster with Juice Scruggs in at left guard. The extra tackle thing with Blake Fisher, who's a good athlete, I thought that was smart. You don't really have a big, strong blocking tight end without Cade Stover, who I think is about 6-week injury for his broken foot. So when they did that, they were allowed to get a bigger body on the field. You saw some good seal blocks, some kick-out blocks, and some pretty good teamwork from Christian Kirk and others to spring Nick Chubb on that touchdown run. I think that was a good situation. And CJ, in my opinion, he played faster, played smoother, more confident, more decisive. And like he said, he was joking about him playing slower, like he's too old or something. That's not the case at all. So that was just him kind of having a little bit of fun. He has a sense of humor, a little bit of a dry sense of humor. Sometimes people miss what he's saying. My expectation, Javier, is that Jimmy will return this season. Jimmy is moving very well. He recovered from the 2 foot surgeries. He's been rehabbing. He's been running. I think at some point they'll use him. I don't know if they need him now. I mean, they've got MJ Stewart. Jimmy's obviously a little bit more of a playmaker, harder hitter, but he has a really tough issue with durability. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to Jimmy Ward and his playing time. But, it's probably going to be his last season. My understanding is that was his plan, was to retire after this season. But, the big thing was the legal, not just the foot. So it was 2 situations. I think he plays at some point this year. And your second part of your question was, what happened with Cam Robinson? So there was no extra stuff. There was nothing wrong with Cam. Cam was, a good teammate, good player for them in the sense of, like, he did his job. He was, compliant with everything he was asked to do. He wasn't playing great, but I think they were willing to let him be the guy, the stopgap, the bridge to Ariante Ursuru, who they always wanted to have be the left tackle. Because Cam doesn't play right tackle or guard, basically can only play left tackle. It wound up being a poor investment. They signed him before, obviously, they knew what would they get in the draft. So essentially, Nick Caserio gambled that I'll get a tackle in the draft, and then he did, but then you'd already paid Robinson most of his money in a bonus. So a tough trade. I mean, Obviously, they lose out on that and the C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Both moves backfired for the Texans. I'm sure that Nick Caserio will be asked to address those asset questions during his press conference, which is at 10 a.m. Central. So we'll have coverage of that for you. Hey, James, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'll reiterate because, the replay takes a long time for it to post. Joe Mixon has a tough and complicated foot ankle issue, I'm told, per sources. He is not expected to play this year. It's not looking great. And he had some procedures, not surgeries, done on the foot, and it didn't seem to make it any better. I heard about an issue of blood flow to the foot, healing process. And so, no, I'm not expecting Joe to play this year. Trent Brown, question, you're talking about Trent, the offensive tackle that was promoted to the 53-man roster. So Trent is in football shape, in terms of, other than he hasn't played, he's been practicing. Trent is someone that had a torn patellar tendon about 12 months ago. It's a major injury, and he's 6'8", 380. So that makes the healing process very slow for a guy that big at his age. At age 31, so that's tough. John wants to know about Ursery, if he's making progress. Yes, I do think so. And the pressure rate's going down. The analytics kind of say that it's getting better. He wasn't ready for Josh Hines-Allen, who's a very efficient rusher, one of the more underrated pass rushers in the NFL. So it was a tough assignment for him, and he wasn't ready for it. But he's played better against these lesser edge rushers. We'll see what happens again. We'll know more when he plays against a really good pass rusher again. Hey, Ted. No, I don't expect Tank to play. I think that's the understanding by everyone that Tank shouldn't play this year. I don't know why that Ross Tucker wanted to put that out, that he's running wind sprints. Yeah, you can be running. It doesn't mean you're going to be cutting the way you need to be to play football, and then it's safe to play. So, no, my understanding right now, and obviously plans can change, is that there is no plan to play Tank this year. We'll see if they want to revisit. I think that one of the reasons why they've never wanted to be definitive about anything is they don't like talking about injuries in general, and also regarding Tank, they don't do anything to cut down on his hope. But the best thing for his career after these following injuries: the broken fibula, the gunshot wound, and then this horrific dislocated knee, torn ACL, MCL, etc., that he takes some time off and let it get strong again. His career is on the line. Doesn't make any sense just to play a couple of games. Good question from Holly. With the offensive line issues, you think they made a big step forward? The Ravens defense definitely was injury riddled, but they did have Kyle Vanoy out there. And they had Owe. They had some of their better rushers. Roquan Smith, who didn't play, wasn't playing very well, not living up to his $100 million contract anyway. So I think not having Roquan, I don't really say, well, with the O-line, they weren't playing against anybody. They were playing against a lot of the main guys. The big one that was missing was really Nnamdi Matabuke, who's on injured reserve now for the year with a very serious neck injury, former Texas A&M Aggie. And this is a career-threatening injury, I'm told. I mean, Jaden plays a lot of snaps, Bobby. They just don't really have him on the offense as far as throwing him the ball a whole lot, right? So he doesn't get the ball much, and they have not, really involved him as heavily as I thought they would. They had some momentum. He had a touchdown. Why not go with some more? They can answer that question better than I could. It varies, just like, Woody Marks, did his everything increase for him? No, it didn't. It stayed the same in terms of Nick Chubb, and they just vary it based on game plan. That question was asked today. Thank you, Nico. I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys like the coverage. I get a little frustrated with some of the technical aspects of the job. It went pretty well yesterday on television, and some of the stuff I was doing in that regard, and some writing that I was able to do overnight. But yeah, I was frustrated by YouTube not working. It just kept spinning, and I wasn't getting the sound, so we're doing this. So that's what happened. Trip back was great. I saw my brother, I saw my mom, and I get to stay with family. And I went to Jimmy's Seafood, which is, if you're ever in Baltimore, is the best crab cake. I think it's in the country or in the world. It's just outstanding. I posted a picture on my Instagram of that gigantic crab cake. It's just so good. And yeah, the owner gave me a free shot. So that was after I was done with work for the day. I had gone to M&T Bank Stadium to shoot my live shot. It was great to see a lot of friends, to see a lot of people from the Ravens, still close friends, and guys in the media that cover the team. A lot of my old friends and colleagues, guys I worked with at the Baltimore Sun. So yeah, definitely a walk down memory lane for me. It was great. I had an outstanding time, and I enjoyed covering the game. I know the Ravens, better days are ahead for them. Right now, they're in the valley. They're having a tough time, and I know John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta are the right people to plan and stay the course and get them out of this situation. Thank you, John. Right. I don't think that the Texans are patting themselves on the back too much. This is from Efrod. Yeah, the Ravens, I mean, they have problems. They have confidence issues. They aren't the same team. With or without Lamar, they're having a lot of problems. They miss Pat Ricard. They're blocking fullback. It just hasn't looked very good. And I don't know what it's going to take for the Ravens to snap out of it. Maybe when they get some of their players back. But as someone with the Ravens said to me, Aaron, we're missing our 6 highest paid guys. So all the money is off the field. They're putting out, it was basically the junior varsity Ravens, not the varsity. Yeah, that's a good observation, Holly. The fact is, he was having more fun. He looked like he was more freewheeling. The 30-yard run, that was a scramble. We haven't seen a lot of that from him. He's capable of that. He can run well, and he was getting the football out of his hands. He wasn't just aiming like he's throwing a dart. I thought this time he was just standing and delivering the football and looking like a much more confident young quarterback. And he's still not a totally finished product at age 24. I look at him and Kaylee, and they don't seem to have a lot in common, but the commonality is they both love football, and they're both serious about improving the offense. And I think they get along fine. They like each other. They're also both Athletes First clients, by the way. Different agent, huge agency, but yeah, they do have the same representation. I think as far as the running for his life part, yes, that was fair in the first couple of games. The pressure rate was very high, and I don't think he handled that well. I also thought at times he was seeing ghosts. That just means that you think the pressure's there, but it's not, or it's adequate, and you could get the ball out. You could stand in there. I think at times he got unnerved by the amount of pressure that he's faced. For Efra wants to know, can the Texans really compete with the better teams? I don't really see them as a team that's going to beat the Buffalo Bills right now. And the Kansas City Chiefs is another team I would have a question mark about. I want to defer a little bit until I see how they do against the teams that are kind of middle of the pack, like the San Francisco 49ers, the Denver Broncos. They were in it with the Rams, even though they didn't play very well. And that's a good Rams team. I had some concerns about just, do they know how to win? Are they comfortable with the offense? But I'm seeing a growing comfort level. At some point, I could see them improving as the season goes on. The big key is, at this point, just get back to the playoffs. Just try to get back control of the division. They'll have that opportunity. If they can keep winning, they're going to have a chance to be heard from. In the Colts now, no one's undefeated anymore. I think they're going to have an opportunity. They're positioning themselves. They're just climbing out of the hole. They're not out of the hole just yet. Christian Harris was inactive because he's not regarded as one of their top 3 linebackers, or really 4, because Jake Hansen played instead of him. So what you've got there, you've got Christian slipping on the depth chart, not being a core special teamer, and it's, as D'Amico Ryan said, it's nothing against Christian, but look how EJ Speed is playing. He took Henry To'oTo'o's starting job. So all of a sudden you want to just bench To'oTo'o completely and play Christian? Guys, I think we have to accept something. He's missed a lot of time due to calf and ankle injuries. He's gotten a lot of rust accumulated. And maybe he's not the same player that he was in that Cleveland Browns playoff game. I know fans and media alike, and sometimes teams, they see the level of a player and they think, that's the benchmark. I expect that from him every week. It doesn't always work that way. And there are other factors, health, emotions, all those things can affect a player's playing time. In this case, how could you say EJ Speed's not better than Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris? So that's why he was inactive. Javier wants to know about companies that offer internships for journalism in Houston, or does he need to have a bachelor's? No, they do take undergraduates at my television station, KPRC. I know they do that at the Houston Chronicle. They've had undergraduates. There are lots of journalism companies, and I could name them all, or you probably can Google them, that do accept undergrads. So yeah, give it a shot. I would find out, get the details, look at the websites to find when are the deadlines, what is required, what does your resume need to look like, what are you doing in terms of student level journalism to have the practical experience to be able to obtain a professional internship. I had lots of internships. I interned at I just had, well, yeah, I count one of them twice, 3 internships. And then I had a lot of on-the-job training as a stringer. That stringer means someone that contributes to different newspapers. That included the Washington Daily News, the Raleigh News and Observer, the Rocky Mount Evening Telegram. You name it, I was writing articles for them trying to gain experience when I was still a college student. Let's see what Bobby's talking about here. You want to know if it's Kaylee, the reason that they're not playing him? I mean, Kaylee makes the decisions in conjunction with D'Amico, who's more involved with the offense now than he used to be, now that he's not the sole defensive play caller. He still calls the plays with Matt Burke. They do it together. They're a tandem. Holly wants to know if the Colts are as strong as they look right now. They look pretty good. The running game with Jonathan Taylor, we've always known what a great running back he is, one of the best. And Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, he's always been an effective quarterback. He needed some good offensive line play. They have that. So, yes, the Colts are a contender. They're an improved franchise. I think that Texans-Colts is pretty evenly matched. But I could see the Texans putting pressure on Daniel Jones. I could also see them bottling up Jonathan Taylor. They just did it to Derrick Henry, and that could be a bit of an equalizer in a game like that. Can't wait for the Colts game. And hopefully it's a relevant game with both teams with good records, and looking forward to seeing that game. Yeah, F. Rob wants to know about Popovich. I mean, Popovich has instilled a tougher mentality. I don't know if you guys saw a lot of my we're in Greenbrier, West Virginia. You could hear Cole talking about the low man wins, and he's a real roll up your sleeves type. He's a former Fresno State offensive lineman. He's a Dante Scarnecchia disciple, and maybe just took some time for the messages to take heed and for these guys to absorb all of the information they're getting. I think they made too many changes all at once. I've said that before. I'm on record as that. But it doesn't mean that it can't develop in time and that they can't fix things with the offense and get to a point where, it's an improved offense. Yet the Uncle Joe also wanted to know about, and he's an Oilers fan, wanted to know about, the Colts if they're back. I think they look a lot better. I think that they've made major improvements. I think it's tangible. I think that you can't ignore what we're seeing. Bill Parcells says this, and I agree with it. You are what your record says you are. You have to, can't think about style points all the time, or this depth chart looks better to me, or they have the better stats. It's about wins and losses, ultimately. It's an improvement league. Who's improving the fastest? Texas Swarm wants to know, will Matt Burke call the defense, or will D'Amico take back the play calling back eventually? I mean, he's allowed 5 points a game in his 2 games calling it. I think he'll be calling the plays, unless it backslides. But right now, I mean, he's calling a good game. In terms of upgrading the safety position in the aftermath of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson debacle, I think they'll just go with, M.J. Stewart, Jalen Reed, at some point Jimmy Ward. There are no real offensive linemen on the street that are available. I don't see anything like that for the Texans. I think that they're going to stick with this offensive line. They finally found the configuration. They've used several, but I think G. Scruggs will remain a starter. Laken Tomlinson will be a key backup, and I just don't see any more changes, barring injury. And for guys that weren't here at the start of the chat, again, that's my fault because I was having some technical difficulties with the stream. Just wasn't working. I would say latest updates, Marlon Davidson signing to the practice squad after a successful tryout. He was with the team during the preseason. And Foley Fatukasi out indefinitely with shoulder injury on injured reserve. I think, pretty soon they'll have Trent Brown. Maybe he'll get involved in some of these jumbo packages. How'd you like to see 6'8", 380-pound Trent Brown coming downhill, peeling off on a linebacker or a safety? That's about 380 pounds of bad news. Uncle Joe, yeah, this is the same question from earlier. If you missed it, as I said earlier, I do not expect Joe to play this year. It is a quote tough and complicated situation with his foot/ankle, and they don't have to say anything. They don't tend to ever say anything until it's like definitive. I've been told by someone internal that they have no plans. They're not counting on anything from Joe Mixon this year. Your running backs are Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, your primary backs. They don't have to tell you anything. You might not like that, Joe. Maybe the media doesn't like it too. I don't always like it, but I deal with the reality that I'm in. And if they don't want to talk about Joe, they don't have to talk about Joe. The only thing they're required to do is to file whatever designated report he's on, NFI, and it's the right category in this case because it is a non-football injury. It's not the same thing from last season. And, they had a good year out of him. Someone asked if they would cut him in the offseason. I wouldn't. I mean, if his health outlook's not any better, yeah, I think they would move on. Absolutely. Or change his contract. I hear you, Kieran. I think that's, right now the plan is for him to sit the year out. Can plans change? Yes, they can. But I'm not expecting Tank. The worst thing that could happen to him is have a setback with his knee. He's made a lot of progress. Would it shock if he can convince them that it's safe? I don't know, though. There's so much on the line, and my understanding from talking to sources close to the situation is that he does accept that it doesn't make sense for him to play this year. Efraim wants to know, is Titus taking on more of a leadership role? Yes. He's their best offensive lineman, and he's also, I believe, their best leader. I don't think they need to have Tank back and get hurt again. Uncle Joe, I know everybody's big Tank fans. Tank's a great guy, great football player. It just doesn't make sense. The offense, if you can get what you got out of Christian Kirk this last game, that was a lot better. That was a step in the right direction. I was starting to really wonder, when is Kirk going to start making the plays? And this time he finally did. I'm not saying that Tank is, I know he's better than Christian. He's younger. But imagine Joe if he got hurt again. Same thing, Quran. It just doesn't make sense. Yep. I mean, they have some hope for, I know that Juice Scruggs had a penalty. I thought Ed Ingram was, playing some physical football, doing a good job. I think they're going to stick with Juice. Juice had some moments in terms of seal blocks, including not letting his opponent leak into the run to the other side on the Nick Chubb touchdown run. I think he did his job. But yeah, Ed Ingram, Titus Howard, Blake Fisher, Christian Kirk, Dalton Schultz. So good downfield blocking. Very rare that I can praise Dalton's blocking, but I can this time. And guys, we can talk about anything you want to. It is the bye week, so not a ton of information from D'Amico other than they're happy with certain things, like obviously Jalen Petrie playing some good football, 3 interceptions, tied for the league lead, 2 interceptions against the Baltimore Ravens. I saw in terms of the defense, there's still a lot of consistency. There's definitely a high standard from the defense. With the offense, yeah, I mean, this was their best game in a long time. Kind of reminded me of the way they played against the Cleveland Browns in that wild card playoff game, which was 45-10, so a very similar score. And CJ's best passer ratings since that game. Is Hutchinson becoming the second guy on offense? I don't know if he's the number 2 receiver. Maybe not yet. I'd say he's at least the third. Rudy, no, I don't think they will fire Kaylee and bring in Mike McDaniel. I don't anticipate that. Simone, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, not Simon. Do I think the Tunsil trade was due more to the false starts? There were about 19 of them total, neutral zone infractions, lack of commitment to the team, missing the offseason workouts. He went to a lot of offseason workouts. He didn't go to all of them, but he went to some, or money. He's playing great football for the Commanders. They are very thrilled with him up in D.C. He did want a new contract, so yeah, money was an issue. They weren't sure if they wanted to make that commitment. They didn't think that everyone should be following necessarily how Laramie does it. Laramie's so talented that he can appear casual. He's actually really deeply committed to football, but he has his own style. He just has a very bad case of offsides. Some of that, I believe, is due to wanting to get this jump and always wanting to have this high pass blocking grades. And, someone's just got to be more patient than he has been and wait for the ball to be snapped. What's up, Killa? Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Broncos game, that's a tough opponent. They have some excellent players like Nick Bonito, Marvin Mims. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a difficult football game, but they can win that game. They can beat the 49ers, or they can lose to both of them. Nothing would surprise me. I don't know if the Texans are quite there yet. Memorable game I've covered. There have been a lot of good ones. I'll never forget the collapse in Kansas City for negative reason, just because it was a total meltdown that kind of set the stage for Bill O'Brien's firing. I thought covering that Buffalo playoff win, I thought there was some excellent strategy. Remember Tywan Jones' run. Remember Deshaun Watson following Cullen Gillespie. Shout out to Katie Taylor, 12th man, Texas A&M. Gingham. That was a cool game. J.J. Watt coming back from the torn pectoral. I've seen some exciting games over the years. They just have never played in a more memorable game, like a championship game. They're the only team in the AFC that's never played for a championship. That's tough. I don't know, Uncle Joe. I mean, Damian, he can return kicks. He's a power runner. He's capable of breaking tackles. He's someone that if they had an injury, you could use him and he can move the chains. He can break some tackles. He's a physical runner. They've always found value in him one way or another. He's a good insurance policy right now. What would you get for Christian Harris at the trade deadline, Rudy? You'd probably be doing him a favor if you can find a team that he can play for. Maybe his agent will request a trade. Maybe not. I think it's probably time for a fresh start for him, but we'll see. Yeah, Simone, I think trading Tunsil ultimately not a good idea. You could have kept Tunsil. He would have shown up and played. It's not like he was going to hold out. And then they could have, found a different solution to things. Similar question from Olobosabo, but I'll reiterate. They're not doing anything with Christian Harris. He's a healthy scratch. He's not playing. And Damian is a guy that plays a minimal amount of snaps. This is what happens sometimes, guys. I don't want to lecture you or tell you what to do or how to think, but this is how I think. Things change. Your starter one week, your backup the next. Your starter 1 year. Years later, things change. Do you know how long ago it was that Dameon Pierce was a Pro Bowl alternate and was the angry runner of the year? That was years ago. So things change. And you say, well, Aaron, why do they keep them around? Maybe they think they're good depth. Maybe they think they're better depth than they get out of the street from some free agent. They do what they do, which is what they think is in the best interest of the team. Remember, it's not some sort of democracy. These guys get paid and paid well. And if you get paid to be a backup, that's what you do. You're a backup. Black Soul, not a Damian fan, neither of Dario Agumale. Well, they're backups. If you go to any other city, just give a little perspective. You're not going to think very highly of the backup running backs, the third or fourth guys. That's what those guys are. I don't know, Simone. I mean, who knows? What if someone gets hurt and they have to put Christian in? Wouldn't you rather just have him on your team in case someone gets hurt? What's the point of trading him or Cam Robinson? I don't get it. Ali, I've answered this before. It is not more than an injury. It's just that they're not going to violate his personal health and talk about it. There's nothing different about it. It's just they just don't want to tell you that they're not like a public institution. They don't have to tell you more than the injury report. That's why it's guys like me, my job, and I'll give you all the information I have. I'll reiterate. A tough, complicated situation per sources. Not expected to play this year. What else do you need to know? He's not going to play. It's not going to work. I'll be shocked, absolutely shocked if Joe Mixon plays any more football here this year. He hasn't played any, but I mean, I was told he has been counted out internally. They're not expecting him to play. So you got to go with what you got. But yeah, I get all these questions about Joe, and I'm not mad about it, but I'm just telling you, I've answered like 5 times. No on Joe right now. They may activate those guys, Dina Autry and Jalen Reed. Both guys were okay in practice. If their conditioning levels seem good to the team, they could have them up. Whether they would use either one, I don't know. I mean, they're deep at those positions in terms of D-line, safety, maybe. I don't think they're benching MJ Stewart to put Jalen Reed in as a rookie. That just doesn't make sense to me. They did not tell you that Joe Mixon will be out 4 weeks. That was kind of a misunderstanding that a lot of people have made just because they don't understand. He is out at least 4 weeks under the designation of the non-football injury list, under the NFL rules. So what happens there is they're not telling you that he's back in 4 weeks. They're telling you he can be out, that he has to be out a minimum of 4 weeks. They're just not telling you what you want to know. Why it's so big of a deal to everyone. I know he's a big-time player for them last year, but he's not this year. He's not healthy enough to play football. If he was, he'd be out there. They're not hiding anything. They just don't want to tell you the particulars of the injury and how he had these procedures on his foot and it didn't make it any better. And if anything, maybe it got worse. They're not going to talk about it. They don't have to. Maybe they will later. I don't know. Maybe if they decide to shut him down for the season, maybe they could have a little bit of an explanation or just say it's unfortunate, didn't work out, wish the best for Joe. Some lines that I could see them saying. Ali, that was absolute BS and someone trying to hype themselves. The only person, I'm not going to even say their name, they were referring to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It was right before the Gardner-Johnson thing happened. Some people in our market overreacted like little kids, like panicking. You didn't see anything from me because I checked and I found out there's absolutely nothing going on. C.J. Stroud and Nick Haley get along well. There's no issue. I'm not saying everything's perfect, but I'm telling you, there's no big internal strife. And if you read what that person wrote, they didn't have any information. It's a big nothing burger. Just, if I tell you there's something happening, it's happening. But I'm not reporting. It's not. I'm in the building. I know what's going on. Nothing's happening. That was all BS. I thought Texans Twitter. I got to scold Texans Twitter a little bit. Calm down. Just calm down. Relax. This is a football game. This is a kid's game played by adults. Everyone freaks out about everything. Everybody thinks there's a conspiracy. Sometimes there is no conspiracy. There's no conspiracy. They're just playing bad. Rudy, I think they got to see how the season finishes before deciding if they're going to extend Nick. I think that the jury's out on that one. Some of his moves just haven't been good. Offensive line, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You got to really take a long view. But what I don't anticipate is that'll be the McNair's call if they don't think that he's the man to lead them forward. They've praised him consistently, on and off the record, for the greater part of a year. And they like the collaboration between him and DeMeco Ryans. I can tell you this, that legitimately DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio get along well and see things the same way. It's not like there's some kind of power struggle like we have with Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien. I mean, it's a new day here. These guys have been fine. I don't know if they'll give him the deal, though. Or should they? Maybe they could do better. Or maybe he's the best they can do. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tim Settle, Tommy Tugiai, Sheldon Rankins, that's good football. That's good defensive line play. Oh, Bishop, I said this earlier, but I'll reiterate again. I respect the question. They don't have to tell you, so they won't tell you. They do what's required. They don't do more than that. They're not very forthcoming. I'm not criticizing them. I'm just telling you that's how they are. It's like the Patriots and Nick Casario and DeMeco Ryans. They see it the same way. They don't really like to make a lot of announcements. They don't acknowledge a lot of things. They don't like to do that. They did the same thing. You remember when I reported that Derek Stingley Jr. had pulled his hamstring. They didn't want to talk much about that. They didn't want to acknowledge that Stephon Diggs had a torn ACL for a while. They just don't like to do it. They don't see how it helps them at all in terms of football. That might be frustrating to fans, maybe some part of the press. And do I think they should be more transparent? Yes, and I've told them that. I think they should be more transparent. Just because I think it or you think it doesn't mean that they will do it. Ultimately, they run the football team the way they want to run it, and they don't really. There's no suggestion box from the press or the fans, and if you don't like them because of that, they're okay with that. They don't. If you think about it, they don't need you. They don't need me. They're still going to have a football team. They're still going to make a lot of money. It's like people say, "Oh, well, it's the fans that pay the salaries." That's not true. It comes from the television contracts, the amount of money they make on concessions, on ticket sales, media, all minuscule compared to the television dollars. As long as the television ratings and the ad dollars are there, the NFL is profitable. We're all sort of the window dressing, the backdrop to the bigger machine of the NFL. No, Tad, they're not looking to get a new stadium. I don't think they would extend Chubb. I mean, if anything, maybe they'd go another year, but I think they'll look around. They want to get even younger and have another back. No new stadium rumblings. Thanks, Giovanni. I appreciate you. Thanks for this. Hi. Yep. Evan, I taped that thing for them. They have a lot of fun with that. I don't really know what all that's about, the whole Alpha Aaron thing. I've had a million nicknames over the years. In high school football, they called me the assassin because I had a lot of penalties. Was A-Money, Big A-Dubs. I've had a ton of nicknames. All of them are well received. Alpha Aaron is fine with me. That's a Landry and Cody thing, and that's cool. And by the way, check out those guys' channels. They have cool channels. Those guys, Seth Payne, Sarge, everybody, lots of good channels, lots of good content. Breon Buddy Calhoun. I think he was on the team years ago. I'm not familiar, Giovanni. Maybe you could Google that a little more and give me a little more information. I'm not sure. BG, thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate you. I agree, Ali. I mean, they're clearly making progress. They've won the last 2 South Division titles. Even if this year turned into a rebuilding year where they were back in the playoffs next year, would most fans, be okay with that? I would think so. Some fans, at least. I think they can win the game, Evan. I'm a little worried about Sam Darnold's passing. Worried about that passing game, even though the Texans are a good defense. I'm worried about that. I don't know if Rand Carthon will be the guy. Rand didn't do a very good job with the Titans. I don't know if the McNair's would sign off on that. Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kay Hogan. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, John McClain, the great John McClain. It was great working with him. I've known him a long time, since 1997. A lot of respect for the General. And, General's kind of, semi-retired now and still does a lot of radio, and still has a lot of cool insight on social media. So, shout out to John. I think that they could have still beaten the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. I don't know that their whole offense looks very good. If the other players are missing, like their left tackle and not having, some of their other key guys like Pat Ricard, I think maybe they still would have won. It just wouldn't have been a blowout. Lobosipo's comment on the other guys, the content creators, I can't comment on that really. I have my own style. I'm trying to be mostly informational. It's not really about being positive or negative for me. It's about being real. Information. That's why I stress, guys, in terms of things I care the most about other than just, content that's explanatory. I like to report on the injuries, the lineup, and the money. Follow the money. That's one of the big tenets of journalism. Remember Watergate, all the president's men. Follow the money. I appreciate it. Texan Swarm wants to know about the origin of Alpha Aaron. So Landry, probably, I don't know how interesting this is going to be. I'll explain it. He thinks it was an alpha move that my YouTube channel, this channel, went off on my phone. I was trying to share a tweet, and that was an alpha move. He thinks that I sneezed, that was an alpha move. Miking up, these are mics, they're going DJI mics, and he thinks that's an alpha move, to mic up a guy in the locker room. Just want to have good sound. I haven't heard about nerve damage. My understanding is lack of blood flow to the foot and things like that. It's just not healing the way it should, Giovanni. I've really kind of said all I can on Joe right now. I'm not going to report more than I know. I guess we'll go about another 15 or so. I apologize again for the problem at the outset. It wouldn't open for me, and that was frustrating, but glad it's working now. So appreciate our conversation, and thanks for everybody. Guys, please watch, like, and subscribe to the channel. I'm at, I think it's about almost 18,000 when the chat started. Maybe needed like 15 more or so. And we have a membership club. We also, we have the super chat option that's available to everybody that wants to take advantage of that. There's also, for sponsors that want to get involved with the channel, there's that possibility too. So more to come. Maybe at some point we'll have some giveaways. I've got some ideas kind of percolating about how we could do more to be more and more interactive. Appreciate you guys being here. It is meaningful to me. This is something that 12 months ago, actually, in 7 days, in 1 week, it'll be my 1-year anniversary of being a YouTube content creator and starting the channel. And I got some great encouragement from a gentleman named Jordan Sterling, who felt like I could do this. And I appreciate it. It's not perfect. Nothing ever will be, but I think we try to have consistent content with my takes on daily happenings with the team and the locker room videos and the podium interviews and breaking news and all that stuff. So yeah, proud of the channel and its growth. I'm not satisfied. I want it to be even bigger. I want this to be a 20,000 channel, which it will be this season and probably pretty soon, hopefully before Thanksgiving, and eventually a 30,000 channel, and then 40. I hope for 50. But yeah, I want it to be a big channel. I know there's a lot of Texans fans out there. And guys, this is free. It doesn't cost you anything unless you want it to. If you want to buy memberships or do things like that. Appreciate it. Oh, favorite player to interview. I mean, I enjoy my interviews with a lot of the guys. Nico Collins, a lot of fun. Aziz Al-Shire, very thoughtful interviews. Tim Sellers Jr., very funny interview. Daniil Hunter and I had a great conversation. We're both suit guys. His suits cost a lot more than mine, but I enjoyed that interview. That was a fun feature for me to work on, and I appreciate Randy McAvoy giving me some flexibility and autonomy to do that feature television style. So that was fun for me. Yep, I have not heard the phrase Jones fracture. Thanks, Uncle Joe. Javier wants to know if the Texans are respectful of Aziz Al-Shire activism for Palestine, or if it's not discussed much. Yes, they are respectful of his beliefs. They defend them. They don't like some of the anti-Muslim comments that he receives, racist comments he receives on social media. We can all have our own beliefs about Palestine and Israel and the Middle East, or Republican or Democrat. But this is not a political channel. I repeat, this is not a political channel, and I'm not ever going to have it be a political channel or a current events channel. This is a football channel. I respect everybody's views, including Aziz's. I think that he does a great job of expressing himself, and he's not afraid. He has the courage of his convictions. He has his beliefs. Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate that from SK. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's awesome. $9.99. That goes a long way. That helps me do a lot of good things for my family and for the channel, for the travel, all the things that go into it. if the Texans miss the playoffs, Efrod wants to know, what changes would they make? I think they would certainly have to consider, are you moving on from Nick Caley, or are you going to stay the course? Are you going to invest more in the offensive line? Do you need to get a better receiver, to replace Christian Kirk? I don't know if Christian Kirk will be back. I think so. Those are some of the things. I don't know if there's a trade they should make. I mean, I think they could use another defensive tackle, possibly, even though I think these defensive tackles are very good. I think that you could look at that position. Safety seems okay to me. They don't need corners. Maybe if there's a really good receiver available for a low price, you could look at that. Thanks, Kay. Yeah, I just don't want to make it political. That's just that's a choice, and it's something of a safer space for me as a semi-public figure that's in the media. I don't really want to express. I don't really have. I mean, just goes a little bit. I'm not really strong in terms of opinions politically. I kind of stay in my lane, which is football, and that's what I get paid to talk about, write about, go on television about. No one's asking me, Aaron, what do you think of Palestine and Israel? What do you think of Charlie Kirk? No one's asking me. No one wants to know that. So I'm not going to talk about it. I don't think I necessarily have the most informed opinions. I do read a lot. I know about current events and all that sort of thing, but no, that's not going to be me. Do I get frustrated with interview subjects not giving basic information? It's pretty obvious to me. I try not to let my emotions get there, but I am not a robot. I have feelings like anyone else and frustrations and opinions. I do think that more information should be available. This is not the FBI. This is not the CIA. This is not, state secrets. This is not life and death. This is football. And I think that, yes, more should be disclosed. That's my opinion. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion with fans or other media. But yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah, I don't think that there's enough information. I think that Andy Reid has won a lot of Super Bowls, and he opens every press conference by saying, here's the injuries. They make their trainer available, and they win. And they have not had a lot of problems, and they weather a lot of public relations things, whether it's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and other things. It can be done. Nick wants to know if they're shopping for more offensive linemen. I think they like the chemistry they've built. They're not looking to change more. They're looking to keep it the same. I appreciate it, Kay Hogan. Thank you. I don't think after the bye week, Rudy. No, I think that's too soon for him. He could start practicing at some point, but no. He's missed a ton of time. He needs more time. Indy's tough, Uncle Joe. It's going to be a good football game. Can't wait to cover it. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, the division, they're going to have to get on the stick. They got to start gaining some ground to have a chance to be a playoff team. The record's not going to be enough for the wild card. They got to win the division again. Thanks, Kay. It's a New England mentality, Kay, to answer your question about injuries. They don't see whether they think it's helpful or not. I don't think they would say it's that helpful, but they don't think that it's harming them, and they don't see what's the upside of being more forthcoming. Would it please other people? Sure. What are they going to do? Say nice things about you? Guess what? If all the media every day said the Texans are great, and you guys said they're great, would that make them play better or the same or worse? I think none of the above. Right? I'm sorry, the same. It would be the same either way. I think tight end's something to look at, but Cade Stover is going to come back. It's about a 6-week injury, so at some point they get Stover back. Maybe by Thanksgiving. We'll see how it goes. I don't know, Nick. That's tough to beat all three of those opponents. Ouch. Yeah, that'd be rough. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to win all of those. I think they're going to win. Hopefully they win at least one of those three. Maybe they could win more. It's not going to be easy. I think they have a good chance of beating Seattle. But that won't be a gimme either. You guys, and thanks for SK's example there. Could certainly use more. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Take it. I think that Seattle's passing game is a challenge. I think the schedule is going to be tough. There's some difficult games on the schedule. It's not going to be easy, Gene, Harvey, as far as this game. But I think that if they can get some pressure on Darnold, which they didn't the last time when they played him when he was playing for the Vikings, that could be a real difference maker. Texans Forum, what's my biggest challenge to journalists covering the Texans? I'd say that they're fairly secretive. They are very professional, though. They don't tend to just hand out the information. Sometimes that can lead to opportunities, though. If they're not disclosing all the information, it gives me an opportunity to do reporting, right? So I would try to find out. I don't just, because someone tells me don't give me the answer in the press conference. The press conference is not for me, at least, where I'm supposed to get my information. I want to get my information from sources. I want to have information other people don't have and have it first, have it right. So whether that's something small like Damon Arnett being elevated, I knew that for several days. Ran it on Saturday when I felt like I should run it. But things like that happen. Sometimes, I knew about Stingley for 24 hours before I reported that. That happens all the time. There's many things I don't report. Sometimes things I think might be just of no interest to the public or maybe harmful. So I have to be really picky and make good decisions about what I report and what I don't report. I'm going back here on Olabispo. I'm not sure who you're asking me if they're going to trade. So if you want to drop it in the comments, who are you talking about the trade? Oh, Dinoco Autry. I don't anticipate them trading. I don't think he has hardly any value. He's 35 years old, coming off a knee injury. So no. Nick, I've done a lot of digging on this. I've hit a lot of brick walls. I'll keep working on it, but I feel like I know a lot. I've told you a lot. I've told people more than anyone on Joe Mixon. Just got to look at it. I even have a secret photo that I posted with him in the lace-up. I never had the walking boot picture. That's one of my regrets. I don't have that walking boot picture. Yeah, definitely. What's the sense of urgency, Efrod? They didn't think Lincoln Tomlinson was playing well, so Juice Scruggs replaced him. They didn't think that Harry Toto was tackling well enough, so they put in EJ Speed. They will make changes. Uncle Joe, yeah, I think the defense is very good. Nick, about Joe winning, I don't think that means anything. Coaches around the league on the threshold, I think Brian Flores should be a candidate. I think he's a good one. Just obviously the lawsuit could hurt him. I don't know if there's any surefire, very hot candidates. I could see Robert Saleh getting back into the ring. I could see that happening. Those are some guys that kind of go in my mind. I thought that with CJ, I don't think anybody's ever put him in the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady conversation. I certainly think he's a good quarterback. He's young. He's 24. I just don't know if it's early to say that. Yeah. Guys, I give you all I can. I'm not holding back on anything on Joe. There's only one thing I'm just not going to speculate on rumors I don't have confirmed with a sound source, but secondhand, everything I'm hearing is not good. I don't think they fired John Harbaugh. I think they give him another chance. I don't think the message is stale. I think that the injuries are bad. No, I don't play fantasy football anymore. I used to play a lot of fantasy football. I found it distracting to me on game days. I was checking my fantasy scores too often, and it was just becoming a thing that was counterproductive for me. So no, I don't play fantasy football. A lot of other people do play fantasy football. That's great. I think it's a lot of fun. It was just something that, for me, it was too consuming. I was too into it, and just didn't want to stick with it anymore. I got a couple more minutes, guys, and then I got to run. I got a few other things to do. And I appreciate you guys all coming in and joining me and your patience after a tough start. Like the Texans, 0-3 at the start, but won their last couple of games. Hey, Enrique. No, I don't think John Gruden will be a top candidate next hiring cycle. I think that the NFL is not going to give him another opportunity. Remember, he's in litigation with the NFL. It's very unlikely. I think he knows. Thanks, Obelispo. Appreciate you. Any last questions I'm going to get in before the buzzer? I got, like I said, I'll give you like a couple more minutes. Then I got to run. I understand, Uncle Joe, you don't like it. I'm not mad at you for not liking it. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's not going to change. Just, you can either accept it or not, but it's how they are. Trust me, I deal with this every day, so it is what it is, as they say in the NFL, too often. I thought that CJ's taking a step. I had a video about that last week. I called my shot, kind of pat myself on the back a little bit. Told you so. That he was taking strides the fourth quarter in terms of adjustments, alerts, hot routes, changing things on the fly, audibles, all that stuff, taking more ownership of the offense. Maybe it just took a little longer. I would say this, including me. Everyone underestimated how long it would take for the offense to really take hold, and for guys to not just understand it and the verbiage, but to be comfortable. Thanks 119 dozen. Yeah, maybe with the tougher defensive schemes. We're going to find out. Guys, I'm going to roll. Thanks so much. Yeah, I don't... The NFL players know they are not allowed to play daily fantasy for money. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Talk soon. They do try to implement the New England stuff, Gene. Yep. This is a lot of Patriot stuff. Dante Scarnecchia, Josh McDaniels, even some Ron Earhart from back in the day, and Bill Belichick. A lot of Patriots influences. Less Sean McVay than I thought there would be. Thanks, guys. Good night.